Welcome, world. I know I said everything's going to be a PowerPoint presentation. I don't have one prepared, and I'm only shooting this video because my dryer decided to just open the door and not let me know, so I have to wait another 30 minutes while my clothes get dried before I'm allowed to. So, it's gonna rant on something I've thought about while I was playing non-Star Citizen games, but it's still gonna be applicable in the eventual future of Star Citizen. And the games that I've been playing is Nebulous Fleet Commander, War Game Red Dragon, and um, they all lack something, or they all have something common. That is, you can build your own forces, right? And I typically end up doing a lot of the same thing, where it's low army counts, low unit count, extremely proficient, extremely high cost. Pick my own missiles, like the Nebulous Fleet Commander. One of my Slice 3 missiles is 44 points, which is absurd. And that sounds great. It's great on paper. It's great when you're building a deck. It's, oh, I have this really good air defense, and I have this really good tanks, and it's going to complement each other, and no one's going to get blown up. So on paper, you build this really good force, and it's going to just wreck everything. But in the matches, I do end up kneecapping myself in tactical flexibility. And that is something that you get by having cheap units. Whereas if you play one of my decks, everything it needs to survive for the most part throughout the whole fight. And so I was reading from Naval War College, and I shall quote here, and I don't know who said it specifically. But it is in the face of an unrelenting threat. A platform's self-defense systems, along with its crew's vigilance and the captain's decision-making, must perform flawlessly 100% of the time. A fleet commander needs some chess pieces he can wager without risking the full game. And I might be suggesting is that I play my games by a lack such. That's it. And so that results in every time I'm playing the game, I'm immediately forced to adopt a defensive mindset. Rightfully so, because if I lose my torpedo boat in Nebulous Fleet Commander, I've lost my largest or my most capable platform for knocking out heavy cruisers and battleships. I lose my SAM systems in Wargame, I'm completely open to airstrikes. If I lose my infantry, I don't have high mobility units anymore, or high mobility low detection units. What the War College and I are coming to realize is that when you get a commander, you need to give him tools that we fully expect to lose, to die, to have to retreat because it can't carry the day. And you can kind of see that in like Roman militaries where they deviated from the Greeks is their second line. So you have the Velites, and I think it's the Hastati, but they're not the first line of like the first ranks of Hastati are not expected to win the fight. Right? The Velites are a screening force. You send in these lightly armored, maybe just a shield and a sword infantry, and their job is to get stuck in, fight for a little bit, and then retreat when things appear to go south. You expect them to take casualties, and you don't expect them to win. That is for your Hastades, for your heavier infantry, or your Triari, who cannot lose that fight. If your best units, your heaviest units, if they lose, there's no way you're going to be able to recover them. Whereas if you had to gamble, or the Romans had to gamble their Triari immediately, and they had to get stuck in, they have to fight that whole battle, and they get outmaneuvered, and they start losing, there's nothing you can do to recover when you start losing that valuable units. Thing in war games, and that's what's going to come to Star Citizen. If you build your fleets to be your Idris, and then your Hammerhead, and then a couple torpedo bombers and a fighter to protect them, anything that gets destroyed, if you lose that fighter, you can no longer intercept enemy bombers. You lose your bombers, you're gonna struggle a lot against capital ships. You lose your Hammerhead, you lose your whole fighter and torpedo screening net. So you're gonna, and then rightfully so, if that's your case, you're rightfully gonna have to jump into a battle where you play your units conservatively. You have to wait for your enemy to send something out, and you engage it then, and have to wait for them. You're giving them a lot of initiative because you can't lose any of your assets. So what the enemy is not allowed to do is they're allowed to probe your lines, dictate location, dictate timings of fights, dictate who's going to get engaged in what matter, and if he can pull some people out of spot, you're done for as soon as one ship goes down. So when you're building your virtual Star Citizen deck, right, when you're looking at your fleet and your little marine or army complements, here we go, what's the word, you want to build it in such a way that yes, you have high value, high capability assets like an Idris, like your Retaliators, like your Hammerheads, but you also slot in some arrows, slot in some gladiators, slot in anything that you're okay getting destroyed. That's going to open up a whole lot of flexibility. You can have fight for information, which in like the recon world or the military world, where you send out a small little screening force who's never going to win the fight, never going to carry a day, but they're going to attack the enemy. They're going to force them to maneuver early, to deploy early, to engage that unit, and you're going to get a very, very accurate description and idea of what the enemy has to fight you with before your main force gets stuck in. And then you can decide if you want to engage that force and what method and like order that you're going to want to start that fight in. Probably those lines. And then you have a lot more units for screening. So if your enemy's flying in arrows, probing how your defenses, how your turrets react, which is actually something pretty cool. The Navy does is they like to fly right up alongside enemy aircraft carriers, and we would time the reaction times of how long you'll get planes off the deck. That's what you get in Star Citizen. You see an enemy Idris, fly a couple of arrows or eclipses at him, and see how long it takes for him to scramble his planes out of the hangar, out of the Kraken pads. How long does it take for his guns to identify his threat? How accurate are those turrets capable of tracking you? You know, you learn all things. Are arrows going to die doing this? Yeah. It's just one pilot in a $70,000 ship. And that's might sound like a difficult sell. You know, in real life, you could reasonably see a movie in Casa where this disgruntled officer frags his own commanders because he keeps getting sent on these suicidal missions. even though it's helping the big picture of the big battle and he's doing an important job, he feels that personal spite of he's gonna try to kill me, he keeps sending me on suicidal missions. But Star Citizen doesn't matter. Sure, you lose some sub gear, lose whatever you're carrying. Eventually you're gonna lose your reputation, you might lose a few limbs, your character's gonna die permanently, and you're gonna have to roll a new one at reduced reputation, reduced skills. So it's not that death is completely meaningless, but you are regenerating. You're still going to be able to play the game. You know, you're not going to lose any of your ships or stuff. That stuff's going to get passed on to you. So you can tell a pilot to go fly in an Idris and see how long it takes for him to react. How long does it take for him to scramble? Just looking at his footage, I should have seen that guy a lot earlier. How long does it take to scramble his fighters? What kind of fleet does he have? What formations are they flying in? You could do that and basically tell a pilot to go kill himself. There's no real consequences. You lose an arrow in that immediate engagement, but is that chip really gonna carry a fight? Are you expecting him to win? Probably not. That's basically the conclusion of that is find find a fleet composition that works for you, that people want to fly in, that is equipment that you enjoy that you want to use. And then whenever you go into a battle, work some shit in there. You don't mind losing. I tried to thought. Uh, Additionally, like chaff, they could be stopgaps. They could fill holes in your lines, allowing you to spread out more. They can fill in capabilities gaps. If your hammerhead goes down an arrow, it can still fight other fighters. You could try to shoot down torpedoes. It's creating a redundancy, not at the cost of another hammer, not at 8 to 9 or 7 to 9 people, depending when engineering comes in. Not at the multi-million-dollar ticket of the hammerhead, not at the 45-minute respawn time. Just one dude, 70,000 credits, like 5 minutes reclaim time. In short, build your fleet for whatever you need. Build it for however you like, whatever your mission profile is going to be. Build the best fleet that you can man up to, and then throw in units that you want to die or willing to lose, so you can have that flexibility to probe your enemy, dictate initiative in a lot of cases, to fill stop gaps when something important goes down, because you're not going to have 100% flawlessness. Never going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns in any battlefield. You never really know what your enemy's capable of, how good those people in the ships are, what ships they value, what ships they're willing to lose is going to dictate how they play the game. Do they have reinforcements coming in? Are they willing to bow back? What is all their tactics for responding to contact? They're just things you can't predict, and you're gonna get outplayed eventually. Micro bits of that engagement, which can snowball into catastrophic defeats if you don't have spendable assets to stop gaps, to take on those unnecessary risks, to fill your intelligence gaps, develop your battlefield before you put the big people into the fight that you expect to carry the day. Dude, I suck at key binding. And that's my rant. I think it's like 5 minutes till my laundry's done. Have fun. Take a bit of this to heart whenever you're building out your Star Citizen fleets or your Navyless fleets. And Remember, we do it in real life. So there's no reasons you can't apply it to a video game where the stakes are a lot less serious.